Well, hey there, it's Wayne from the Debt Matters podcast, and today we're celebrating 30 years with LCTaylor in Kenora and in Winnipeg. They're licensed trustees, licensed insolvency trustees, and I've got Jillian Taylor-Mancusi on with me. Jillian, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I mean, 30 years is really quite something, and maybe you can give us just a quick little history of how the company began.
Well, the company began back in 1992 with Lee Taylor. He'd always been at that time working with national and local accounting firms that always had an insolvency component to them. But he felt that it's such an important matter that it should be something, a standalone business, if you will. So in 1992, September 8th, he opened LCTaylor & Co. Ltd.
Wow. And look at that, 30 years later, and the company's obviously grown, and you've grown up in the industry.
Right, exactly. In 1992, I worked part-time on Saturdays, being the receptionist. And starting in 1994, I started full-time with the company. And here we are today.
Isn't that something? I mean, just to see companies these days do well and to last that long, it's kind of rare. So it's kind of an exciting time for us to be celebrating. What do you think is what's the success component of being 30 years in the business as licensed insolvency trustees?
I think the longevity of the company is due to how we feel about what we do. So we truly believe that we can help people get back on their feet. A lot of times people are in this situation due to things that are completely out of their control. They get sick, they lose their job, their marriage breaks up, or they have an addiction, or a pandemic hits and they lose their job and everything's locked down. So with so many things happening, we can really look at their individual situations and find them a path to get back on track and find a future for them.
And I think as I've got to know you and Lee over the last year, there really is that passion there. And I'm hearing all these success stories of people that have, once you're in this situation where you've got debts and you don't know how you're going to deal with them, and day after day, it's just such unbelievable stress. Like for somebody listening who hasn't gone through it, I don't think they can understand the stress. And then all of a sudden, here you come along and you have some solutions for people. And that must be really rewarding to see a year or two down the road how people are doing.
Right. And you know what? It's even faster than that, if you will. People will come in for an initial consultation. They'll tell us what their situation is. And by the time they leave our office with a solution, you can see the weight lifted off them. They have a sparkle back in their eye. They feel like they're breathing again because they're not answering their phones, not opening their mail. They're not sleeping at night because they don't know what to do. And you've given them a solution.
And that really goes into that affects the marriage and family. It affects your work life. It affects everything.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. A couple of years later, you can run into somebody in the grocery store and they have a great story for you. They've learned how to budget. They were able to save money. They were able to put their kid into college because they were able to save money and give their children a better future.
Yeah. Well, let's spend a few moments here, maybe give you some tips on what's going to happen over the next maybe a couple of years because of what we've gone through with the pandemic, and we're seeing extremely high debt ratios right now with many, many Canadians. So let's try to help people out before the real trouble hits. Maybe you can give us some advice on that.
Certainly. Generally, we'll see that when people have financial difficulty, it usually takes them a year or two to seek help for it because either they have some savings or they're able to remortgage a property. But right now, I'm assuming in your end of the country as well, that the way the interest rates are going and are going to continue to increase, things like taking money out of their mortgages isn't going to help. So the sooner that you can realize that you might have a debt problem is you should talk to a licensed insolvency trustee because there might be more options now. If there's maybe some equity in your property or you still have a job that has excess income that you could maybe do a proposal to your creditors. There's a lot of different options the sooner you talk to somebody.
How often do you hear, I wish I'd talked to you earlier?
Almost every day.
Right? And I think that's key, that people understand. And as you said, don't wait a year. You may know that you're seeing that debt being added every month. And you
Yeah.
get to that point where you know in your gut that there's going to be a problem, and it's time to reach out right now
And
to a licensed insolvency trustee.
there was actually a lady I spoke with yesterday, and she was calling because she really did not know where else to turn. At this point, her business had closed due to COVID. She'd had some equity in her property. She took it all out. She had a car. She sold her car. She was living off the proceeds from that. She'd sold all of her furniture, her computer, her printer. And she's like, I have nothing left. I don't know what to do. And I told her, why didn't you come talk to us a year ago? There are exemptions for things like your furniture. You didn't have to sell everything. You didn't have to necessarily sell your vehicle. There's so many options that she could have had if she would have talked to us in the beginning. And there's so many misunderstandings out there as to what you can keep or what you can file a bankruptcy or proposal on. And a lot of them aren't true. So come and talk to licensed insolvency trustee right away so you can get the actual information
Yeah.
before it's too late.
And that's what I love about doing this Debt Matters podcast as well, is it's just such a great education tool, because unless you've gone through it, you have no idea. I mean, before I started working with the team, I didn't really understand it myself. So it's been really wonderful to learn. And now if I have, know somebody, or somebody's offspring, their children are having financial difficulties, I can say, okay, here's what a licensed insolvency trustee does. And no, it just doesn't, it's not the big B word. It's not always a bankruptcy. There's many different options. So contact you first and soon. That would be tip number one. What's another tip?
Then this is my favorite tip because it's all encompassing: budgeting, knowing where your money is going. That's the key to success. So even if you don't do a full out budget, keep track of where you're spending your money every month. So how much money you have coming in, everywhere you're spending it. And you're going to see things like, do you really need to spend $4 every day at Starbucks? Probably not. And can you use that $4 a day to do something else? Can you use it to pay down debt? Can you look at your debt load, see who your highest interest rates are, and maybe focus on paying those debts first? When you know where your money is going, then you have options of how you want to spend it and how you want to allocate it. Now, that also being said, my third step would be setting goals for yourself, because even though you might have financial difficulty, you don't know how to pay off the debt, you have to set goals for yourself as well. So short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. So maybe you take your $4 a day and you save it up, and it becomes, a $50 dinner. And that's a short-term goal, so that you have something to look forward to every month. Because if you're always just spending the money on the debts, you're not having anything to work towards on the other end.
Yeah, that's a great point. And when you're in debt, you start to think, oh, well, what's the difference? I'm not going to get out. But once you save that $100, and then all of a sudden it grows to 150, and it grows to 200, then it becomes, oh, can I get this to 500?
Yeah,
And it sounds almost silly that it's such a minor amount, but it really is a big deal to just overcoming the feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm in doom and gloom.
yeah, exactly.
Right on. Well, I'm so glad we got to connect quickly, and congratulations on 30 years. Yeah, and wonderful working with you. And final words you want to pass along for your 30th anniversary?
That we hope to be here for another 30 years helping families in the future.
Terrific. Jillian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we should mention as well that there is a free consultation. So if you know somebody who's going through a situation, it literally is a free consultation. You can contact the team at LCTaylor, and they will set up whether it's a phone call, maybe it's an in-person meeting, and it's absolutely free. And then they can kind of give you some ideas right there of what you can do. And the website is
LCTaylor.com.
Thank you, Jillian.
Thank you.